I speak to you in the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So Jesus appears suddenly to his apostles and disciples in this upper room at the Mount of Olives. He just pops in to say hi, I guess. No big deal. Just in bed, laid to rest, visiting. Pops in for a Sunday afternoon visit. Don't you find that odd? According to the four Gospels, Jesus kind of comes and goes during this 50-day period between the Jewish Passover and the Feast of Booths, which is also called Pentecost. He doesn't stay with his followers all the time. And apparently, he's very casual about it all. I mean, this visit today in this reading is the first and only time in Luke's Gospel that he visits the 11 apostles. In Luke's version, Jesus has died, been buried, and risen. Mary Magdalene and the other women have rushed back from the garden to tell the apostles that they'd seen the empty tomb and that angels had told them that Jesus had been raised. But the apostles don't immediately believe the women's report. Peter, though, did take off running to the tomb to check for himself. And once he had seen for himself, he left the tomb amazed and returned to the gathered apostles. Then these two fellows who had been walking to Emmaus came into the room where the apostles were hiding and told them how Jesus had walked with them, and they didn't recognize him until he broke bread with them, and then he had appeared to Peter, and how he had helped the two of them understand the scriptures. And right about that time, they all suddenly realized that Jesus was in the room with them, in this locked room. The apostles are scared. They're really scared. They're startled, and they're not at all sure about what they're seeing. But Jesus just sort of brushes this whole thing off. And he says, come on, guys, check out my scars. Go ahead, touch them, they're real. And then, in a very blasé way, he said, yeah, they didn't eat famished. Here are the 11 apostles, some women, and these two fellows from Emmaus, witnessing the miracle of Jesus' appearance after the resurrection. And Jesus wants a piece of boiled fish. It's not even black or pecan interested. I mean, there's no steamed asparagus. There's no rice pilaf. It's just plain, ordinary, boiled fish. This isn't spectacular at all. It's such a plain, ordinary, human action. How odd of God. How odd of God to fail to capitalize on sensationalism. How odd of God to refuse to fire up the emotions of his followers. Why bring the news down to the ordinariness of human life? Well, this is the same Jesus that did not want publicity about his miracle. It's the same Jesus that brought Peter, James, and John down the mountain and told them to keep mum about seeing Moses and Elijah. It's the same Jesus who washed their feet and taught them and ate with them and partied with them and traveled with them. But now that he is clearly known to be the Son of God, why the downplay? How odd of God. How odd of God, the creator of the vast universe, to be so ordinary. What's really going on here? I wonder about things like that. I wonder about other things too. I wonder why, in all four Gospels combined, that Jesus only appears to two people individually. As John tells it, one is Mary Magdalene in the garden, and the other is Peter in this story in Luke. And it's just sort of a glanced over hidden difference. All of the other 12 or so times that Jesus is reported to have appeared happens in groups. Groups of 2 to over 120. And the situations are always very ordinary and mundane. They're on the road, by the lake, in a locked room, and meals are often involved. I wonder about that. It's curious, don't you think? Curiosity might kill the cat, but makes you good at this debate. In my wondering, I think that these stories of Jesus' appearances to groups rather than to individuals, these stories are telling us something important. First, let's consider the two appearances to individuals. In each case, that individual, Mary and Peter both, immediately returned to the group to share their experience. And in both cases, the group reacted with both curiosity and caution. They relied on one another to discern what was truth and what was best for the group as a whole. And as more information was shared from additional resources, the presence of Jesus became more real. And in their stories, Jesus appeared in their midst. I think this tells us some important ideas about our understanding of faith and the need for a faith community. Secondly, the apostles and early disciples of Jesus made a commitment to be responsible to one another. They joined regularly, in their day, almost daily, in worship and study, meals, celebrations, in daily living with Jesus and one another. They worked together, shared what they had. They invited others to come see why Jesus was so special. At Jesus' instruction, they noticed everyone around them, treated the outcast, the sick, and the foreigner with respect, and accepted thoughtful criticism, even though it might at first hurt their feelings. They gave their very best selves, possessions, care, knowledge, and love to God by giving their best to their faith community. Now, apparently some did decide that they wanted the benefits without the responsibilities, and they decided to no longer follow, but by and large, folks were so convinced of this new way of living that they put their personal benefit aside and made a commitment to be a part of the community. When Jesus was killed, they were frightened for their own lives, and they ran their separate ways. But within a day, they were back together, leaning on one another and trying to figure out the way forward together. While together, the presence of Jesus became real. As many of you are aware, my parish for over 20 years, the parish that discerned with me the path to ordination, was St. Stephen's here in Birmingham. My husband Frank is still an active member there, continuing to sing in the choir, serving as an EFM mentor, and participating in many other aspects of the parish life. 2 years ago, this coming June, the people of St. Stephen's experienced the deadly shooting in the parish hall. They were frightened and shocked, and 2 of their 3 priests were out of the country. It was an evening of horror. Still largely scattered by the pandemic, it was somewhat similar to the scene following the death of Jesus. Almost miraculously, the people in the community immediately gathered in support, and by the next day, a prayer service had been organized by the diocesan office and local Episcopal clergy. St. Luke hosted a full-to-capacity church service. Our community gathered together in a safe room, and this praying community included not only those present during the attack, but many of the first responders, other St. Stephen's parishioners, and Episcopalians and friends from every part of the greater community. Like the apostles, we could not stay separated at this time of fear and grief, and the presence of Jesus was palpable. Our trust in God, the Creator, Redeemer, and Comforter, and in one another, pulled us together in love to figure a way forward together. Jesus was in our midst. The shooter, like the oppressors in Jesus' time, wanted to shut down the power of a loving community. And just as with the apostles, God's love won out. This type of powerful love only shows up in a true faith community. The Christian way is a way of community. There are no lone wolves, no individual heroes, and it's never my way or the highway. We work through our ups and downs of life together, and we stick together. And that, my friends, is what's happening here at Grace Church Woodlawn. This is a community committed to being a place of love and shared faith and life. We rely on one another. Everyone has something to offer to this faith community and to our neighbors, and each accepts that responsibility with commitment. We're learning to give our very best to God by giving our very best to this faith community. Discerning together our continual way forward gives us confidence, hope, and our joy is displayed to all we need. In the EFM study materials, it was summed up something like this. In the earliest days of the Jesus movement, the people were recognized and known for the love they had for one another. I thought that was a wonderful way to explain our faith understanding. We commit to live, work, worship, pray, and face life together in this community, listening to one another, sharing the truth in love, forgiving one another, celebrating, sorrowing together, and always inviting all we need to come and see what Jesus and this kind of life are like. Because we have witnessed that in the mundane parish decisions about trash disposal, how to clean, organize, and care for our facilities, caring for the needs in our neighborhood, and planning worship, we've experienced the presence of Jesus in our midst. We want to share these experiences of joy, love, and abundance. And still, I wonder, how odd of God to use us in all of our ordinariness to share his transforming love.